Well, hello, folks, to another episode of Remodelers on the Rise. A lot of times lately, I'd say the majority of the episodes here in the last 6, 8 months have been me interviewing a guest. And I love doing those. These used to be very heavily just Kyle focused. Kyle kind of just teaching or talking in a solo format. And that's what we're doing today. A little bit more abbreviated. We're not going to make this super long, and it's going to be a solo show. No guest, folks. You're stuck with me today. For those of you watching video version, you might see I've got a new tidy little hat. It says JT on the front, and it says Job Tread on the side. Job Tread and Remodelers on the Rise have formed a little, what would you call it? Maybe a partnership, maybe a little alliance, maybe I'll scratch your back, you scratch ours. Hey, Kyle, come speak at our conference, and you can have a booth, and we'll do some webinars to our clients because you're a really good fit for our clients. And then likewise, hey, Job Tread, I'll talk about you a little bit on the podcast, etc., because your software is great for my clients. So just a quick little. If I could just read what's on their homepage of jobtread.com. The new standard for managing remodeling projects. JobTread empowers you with simple yet powerful estimating and project management software to help you tackle projects with greater efficiency. Get organized, complete your projects on time, and increase your profits. I have a lot of my active clients that I work with who have switched over and started using JobTread. All of them are very, very happy. They like the software. It's fast, it's intuitive, it's quick. They are continuing to add more and more aspects of JobTread into their remodeling business. I would recommend you do a little demo and check it out, jobtread.com, and you can check out the show notes as well. Today's episode is related to how big or small do you want your remodeling business to be? When was the last time you thought about that? Here's why I bring it up. Yesterday, I had a conversation with a remodeler down in Florida, and he said the following. He said, Kyle, I used to want to take on the world. I had ambition of having lots of team members, project managers, 10, 20, $30 million worth of revenue. I wanted the whole enchilada. And then over the years, I've kind of softened on that. I kind of realized that's not necessarily what I'm chasing. I've got a different vision for my business now. That was interesting. Had a conversation this morning on kind of the other side of it about a $1.7 million remodeler who said, we want to be doing 17 million in 5 years. To which I said, why? 10x, 10x. Why not? Let's grow this thing. So I had those two examples, and this is a conversation that I talk to a lot of remodelers about of what type of remodeling business, what size remodeling business are you aiming to create? And here's the big question, and why? And why? If you think about the answer that the person this morning gave of why do you want to go from 1.7 to 17 million? Did you hear his answer? Why not? Not a good answer. That's not a good answer, folks. I prodded a little bit more. The next thing that came to his mind is I would like to be making enough money that things aren't ever tight. That if we want to go buy this or if we want to go on a trip there, we can just do it. That's getting a little more interesting as to why. And then I heard a little story of how he had to cancel a trip here recently because of issues on the production side. There's still so much responsibility for the project management and keeping the team productive and efficient out in the field that he just wasn't able to pull away on this longer trip. Now we're getting into a little bit more of the why. So my kind of rant for you today, my thing that I want to get you thinking about is what size, and sometimes it's helpful to kind of start with the size of the business. Think about the number of employees, the people. Do you want to run a remodeling business that has 30 employees? Why or why not? What do you like about that idea? What do you not like about that idea? Do you want to run a remodeling business that has 2 employees? What do you like about that idea? What do you not like about that idea? Think about your people. What does that look like? Think about your revenue. Your top line revenue is not the be all end all. But think about the revenue. Are you wanting to be running around $1 million business, a $1.5 million business? Are you wanting to run a $10 million business? If so, why? A lot of times, bigger is not always better when it comes to the volume and the size of the remodeling business, and we have to kind of keep that in mind. A few other things just to kind of get your mind going. If you were able to close your eyes, now don't do this if you're driving, but if you were to close your eyes and I were to say, just dream up a number when it comes to your salary plus the net profit in your business, what would be like your dream number for the year? What comes to mind for that? Is it $200,000? Is it $800,000? Is it $300,000? And why? What number is coming to your mind and why? What is your dream number for that? You start to get some of these pieces in place. You start thinking about these and wrestling with them and thinking strategically about them, and you might start to see some patterns develop. Another question, what do you want to be doing in your business? Do you love the sales and the marketing side of things? Do you also love the project management side of things? Do you not like swinging the hammer anymore? Do you not like estimating? Do you not like dealing with the bookkeeping? What do you want to be doing? What lights you up? What do you get excited about in your remodeling business that you want to do even more of? And what do you want to be doing less of? Do you hear how we're kind of thinking strategically about revenue, about how much you're wanting to make from the business, about the type of work that you want to be doing, about the size as far as number of employees and the pros and cons of that? And as we think about this and grapple with this and dream about this a little bit, some of the answer to the question of how big do you want your remodeling business to be starts to become more real. So that's the main point of what I'm trying to do here, is just get you to think about this strategically. When you start breaking it down, you realize that total revenue is not where it's necessarily at. If we start to look at that and go, you know what? I really like the idea of being at this type of revenue with this amount of gross profit margin. A $2 million business at a 25% gross profit margin is not nearly as exciting as a $2 million business at a 33% gross profit margin. That's interesting to think about. You think about after you get to gross profit, you have all of your overhead expenses. Gentleman I talked to here recently, earlier in the week, I could hear it in his voice when I was talking to him about his business. By the way, remodelers listening to this, one of my favorite things talk about that gets me energy is when somebody reaches out saying, hey, I've listened to your podcast. I've been consuming your content, get your emails, follow you on Remodelers Community, the Facebook group. If you're not in remodelerscommunity.com, you're missing out. And, we've been working on this. I'd love to just talk to you about my business and see how you might be able to help. I love hearing the story and kind of where things are at. And this gentleman earlier in the week said, we have very low overhead. And he said it in a very excited, some might say, taking pride. I was going to say prideful, but that's negative. Taking pride in the fact that he's got very low overhead. And as we continue talking, he works a lot of Saturdays. As we continue talking, he's pretty burnt out from things. And we're realizing that having a super low overhead in his case is actually a very bad thing. It's part of the reason he would say his business is broken. An aspect of his business is broken. So as we're thinking about strategically, how big do I want this business to be? What do I want this to look like? We look at the revenue. We think about our gross profit. Sometimes selling the same amount of revenue at a higher gross profit is a wonderful combination. Sometimes selling a little bit higher revenue at a little bit higher gross profit is amazing. Sometimes we need to look at our overhead expenses, and maybe we've overextended ourselves a little bit there. Maybe we need to prune it back and be a little bit more lean. That's something to consider. So there's all these different dials that we can be adjusting and to be thinking about. The other thing I see in my coaching is, wow, the exciting thing about the remodeling business is if I'm at $500,000 of revenue, that means I'm doing everything. I might have some helpers here and there. I might have one or two key employees, but I am selling, I am marketing, I am estimating, I am swinging the hammer still, and I'm scratching out, hopefully a decent living. That difference between 500,000 and a million and the gross profit that produces and your ability to, yes, perhaps take a little bit more from the business for your own personal budget and family budget, but also your ability to start investing in different areas of the business. Wow, that additional revenue can make a huge, huge difference and click it into the next level. Sometimes if you're sitting there at 1.5 million, the difference between 1.5 million and knocking that up above 2 million, 2.25 million can be the difference between, yeah, things are going okay versus, ooh, that is a healthy net profit. I'm starting to see some money down here that really matters. That's really making a difference for all the hard work and blood and sweat and tears that I've put into this thing. How big do you want your business to be and why? What do you want your business to look like personnel wise, what you're doing and why? Dream a little bit. Think about this. Contemplate it. Brainstorm it. If you want to get me really excited, open up a spreadsheet, put some different revenue numbers up there, put some different gross profit margins up there. Look at your current overhead. And what if you were to add another office person? What if you were to add a project manager? Adjust your overhead to reflect maybe adding some key team members. See what those numbers end up looking like. Project your business. You're a business owner. You're a business owner. I know for some of you, numbers are not your necessarily biggest cup of tea. And sometimes it's a little murky, but you need to get in front of a spreadsheet. You need to get in front of your P&L. You need to get in front of a business budget and grapple with these numbers a bit. What if you turned up your overhead $150,000 because you've invested in this, this, and this? And by investing in this person or this marketing or this position, you're able to free yourself up to do more of what you love or just flat out work less. And you can see that if you turn your overhead up and you have that in place, you're also going to be able to sell more. So you're going to be able to turn up your top line revenue. And you're going to be out of the weeds more, and the work is going to be spread out a little bit more, that we can watch our production and our job costing closer, and we can tweak up our gross profit margin. At the end of the day, you can see how those investments can turn into doubling or tripling your net profit down at the bottom. I love it when my remodeling clients start presenting those spreadsheets to me. Hey, I was messing around with kind of the different dials. If you're curious about that, I've got a real great little training. If you ask for, hey Kyle, can you give us a peek at your financial dials spreadsheet, and just a quick training on that. It's inside the VIP club, so keep that in mind. But I'm feeling frisky today. If you reach out to me and say, can you send that over? I probably will. You know how to find me. You'll figure it out. But yeah, we want to get in. We want to be able to wrestle with those numbers, see what those impacts look like. The gentleman who mentioned, I want a 10X. And we played it back. I said, buddy, I think your sweet spot is probably 3.5 million, maybe 4 million. Look at how we can, if we increase the revenue there, if we knock up a gross profit percentage because you're going to be running your projects better because you're not going to be spread as thin, you're also going to charge more. And look, we're going to increase your overhead. You're going to hire that office assistant and you're going to hire that project manager. But even by doing that with the increased revenue, you can see how that is going to free you up. That vacation things becomes real. And look at the difference in your net profit, dramatically improved. Again, wrestle with these numbers. How big do you want your remodeling business and why? I want each of you listening to this to have some answers to that. How big do you want your remodeling business to be and why? What do you want your remodeling business to look like and why? This is your business. Nobody's going to do this work for you. You need to dig in, set aside this time, and set aside some time to work on the business and wrestle with these questions and these numbers. I hope this little rant and this little off-the-cuff podcast episode was encouraging to you. You had some takeaways from it and gets you thinking strategically. Separate yourself out from the day in and day out hustle and bustle of running your business and start thinking strategically. That's all I got for you today. Hope you enjoy it. If you love this episode, why don't you go ahead and into your podcast app that you're using and give a little review for your friend Kyle. and the Remodelers on the Rise podcast. Reach out anytime. Keep working hard. Catch you later.